The day the Veyer Dominion arrived over Earth, every military telescope on the planet saw the same thing. 12 black ships crossing the upper atmosphere without slowing down, followed by a planetary signal that ordered humanity to surrender every major city within 30 minutes. The order worked everywhere except one small industrial district outside the city of Calder, where a damaged police machine had just finished repairing a broken street barrier and refused to move because someone had parked a delivery truck in front of it. The aliens would later call that machine their greatest tactical mistake. At the time, they simply thought it was equipment. Before we get into what happened, if you enjoy HFY stories where humans win by being stubborn in ways nobody expects, hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling me one ordinary Earth machine you think could survive an alien invasion. We're a growing channel, and every subscription helps us get closer to our first 1,000 subscribers. Now, let's walk into Calder and see why the Veyer Dominion spent 3 hours trying to make one robot go home. Commander Vale Oran had conquered 43 worlds. Not 39. Not 42. 43. He had never lost a campaign. His fleet had entered agricultural planets, mining colonies, orbital cities, fortress moons, and once an entire ocean world whose inhabitants had built their capital beneath 4 kilometers of water. The result had always been the same. The local population resisted. The Dominion identified the resistance system. The Dominion removed the system. The population surrendered. It was not cruelty. At least that was how Vale understood it. It was efficiency. The Veyer military doctrine had been refined for 600 years, and its central rule could be spoken in one sentence. Every organized resistance depends upon a system. Find the system. Break the system. The resistance ends. Vale had built his career on that sentence. His flagship, the Veyer's Judgment, carried enough orbital weapons to disable Earth's major power grids in less than 4 minutes. His fleet had scanners capable of mapping communication networks through mountains. His tactical computers could identify command centers, logistics hubs, military headquarters, ammunition depots, and industrial production facilities before a human officer could finish saying the word, invasion. There was one person on the flagship who did not like the first scan. Lieutenant Sira Ven had been promoted only 6 months earlier. She was young by Veyer standards, but she had one annoying habit. She read everything. Not summaries. Not tactical highlights. Everything. When the fleet's first atmospheric survey reached her station, she read the full report twice. Then she opened the civilian infrastructure appendix. Then the emergency services appendix. Then the municipal maintenance records. She stared at the screen. Commander. Vale did not look up. Report. The scan has identified approximately 17,000 autonomous or semi-autonomous machines in the primary invasion zones. Expected. Most are civilian. Then they are irrelevant. Sira hesitated. There is one category I think we should investigate. Vale finally looked at her. Which? Municipal enforcement machines. He looked back at the tactical display. Police. Something similar. Disable their communications. Already attempted. That made Vale pause. Result. The network rejected our intrusion. Why? We don't know. Vale's expression remained calm. Then the network is poorly designed. Sira looked at the report again. That isn't what the engineers concluded. What did they conclude? They don't know. Vale almost smiled. Lieutenant, uncertainty is not a threat. He returned to the main display. Find the systems. Sira lowered her head. Yes, Commander. The first city fell in 8 minutes. The second in 11. The third never received the surrender order because its communication infrastructure had already been isolated. Human governments were confused. Human military forces were overwhelmed. The Veyer fleet was doing what it had done 43 times before. Then Vale found Calder. Calder was not a military city. It had no strategic weapons. No major airbase. No government headquarters. No nuclear facility. No orbital launch system. It was an industrial city built around an old river basin, with factories on the western side, residential districts on the eastern side, and a broad drainage valley running through the middle. The city had survived wars, floods, economic collapses, and 3 different governments. Its people had developed a practical relationship with broken things. They repaired them. They reused them. They complained about them. And when something was too expensive to replace, they kept it running for another 10 years. That included police machine CR9. Most people simply called him Robocop. His official designation was much longer. Nobody said it. At 6:40 in the morning, 3 hours before the aliens would ask for him back, Robocop was standing beside a municipal street barrier. The barrier was stuck. He had been trying to lower it for 7 minutes. A delivery truck had stopped directly in front of it. Robocop looked at the truck. He looked at the barrier. Then he looked at the driver. Move vehicle. The driver leaned out of his window. 2 minutes. That statement was made 6 minutes ago. I had paperwork. You still have paperwork. Exactly. Robocop stared at him. The driver stared back. Neither moved. Finally, Robocop said, "This is a loading zone." I know. You are blocking emergency access. I know. You are committing a municipal violation. I know. Robocop paused. Move vehicle. The driver sighed. Fine. That was how the greatest military disaster in Vaer history began. Not with a gunshot. Not with an explosion. With a delivery truck. Robocop had been operating in Calder for 18 years. He had been built as part of a public safety modernization program that had been canceled 3 months after his deployment. The other machines were scrapped. Robocop was not. He had passed every maintenance inspection. Then every budget reduction. Then every software replacement. Then every argument about whether a 27-year-old police machine was still useful. He had one particularly unglamorous qualification: 18 years of municipal emergency response. He knew Calder. Not just the streets. He knew which roads flooded first, which buildings had old power conduits, which factories stored compressed gas, which bridges developed vibration faults, which neighborhoods lost communications when storms came through, which drainage tunnels were safe, which were not. He also knew that people lied when they were frightened. Not because they were bad, because they were frightened. His routine phrase was simple. Let's do this properly. He said it whenever something went wrong. A broken door. A traffic collision. A power failure. A fight. A fire. Let's do this properly. At 7:02, the first Vaer ship entered Calder's airspace. Robocop looked up. His optical sensors tracked the vessel. The city sirens began. Then every screen in Calder displayed the same message. Earth civilians, your planet is under Dominion authority. Remain in place. All military and government systems are to be disabled. Robocop listened. Then he looked at the emergency dispatcher. Are they asking us to remain in place? The dispatcher nodded. Apparently. Are they authorized? No. Robocop considered that. Let's do this properly. The first Vaer landing units came down near the Western Industrial District. They expected armed resistance. They found firefighters. The aliens had armor designed to resist directed energy weapons, kinetic rounds, chemical agents, and electromagnetic disruption. They had never considered a municipal fire hose. The first squad marched into a warehouse. A firefighter opened the main valve. 4,000 liters of water hit the lead soldiers. They were not injured. Their armor sealed perfectly. but their external optical sensors became covered with water and industrial foam. The soldiers stopped. Their tactical system announced, "Visual obstruction." The squad commander shouted, "Advance." The soldiers advanced 3 meters. Then one walked directly into a forklift. The forklift operator stared at him. The alien stared back through a fogged visor. "Move." The operator shrugged. "It's a forklift." The alien commander transmitted a threat. The operator pointed toward a sign. "Authorized personnel only." The alien stood motionless. Behind him, another soldier walked into a stack of empty pallets. Siraven watched the footage from orbit. "Commander." Vale did not respond. "The resistance is not centralized." "Correct." "Then identify the local authority." "We are doing so." "We haven't found one." Vale looked at the city map. "Then they have failed to organize." Sira frowned. "That may be the problem." Vale's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The humans aren't organizing. They are resisting." "Yes." "Then resistance is organized." "No." She brought up 3 separate feeds. A firefighter protecting a warehouse. A bus driver refusing to abandon his route. A hospital administrator redirecting power. None of them had spoken to one another. They're acting independently. Vale studied the feeds. Local initiative. Yes. Uncoordinated. Yes. Therefore inefficient. Sira hesitated. Unless the system doesn't require coordination. Vale dismissed the thought. Every resistance does. That was mistake number 1. The Vaer troops secured the industrial district. Or believed they had. At 7:31, they shut down the city's central traffic control system. They expected thousands of vehicles to stop. Instead, thousands of vehicles continued moving. The Vaer computers showed chaos. Human drivers saw Tuesday morning. The city had been running on imperf. Traffic signals for years. Drivers knew which intersections were dangerous. They knew which lanes flooded. They knew which lights were unreliable. When the signals went dark, people slowed down. Some shouted. Some honked. One man leaned out of his window and yelled, "You're supposed to be on the other side." A Vaer soldier raised his weapon. The man drove away. The soldier did not fire. His orders were to secure civilian infrastructure. Sira watched another feed. "Commander, the traffic network wasn't their primary system." Vale answered calmly. "Then what is?" "We don't know." "Find it." The city continued operating. That was mistake number 2. At 7:46, the aliens discovered the municipal permit office. It should not have mattered. It became one of the strangest battles of the invasion. 3 Vaer soldiers entered the building carrying weapons. They found one human woman behind a desk. She looked up. "Can I help you?" The squad commander stepped forward. "You are ordered to surrender the building." The woman looked at the clock. "Do you have a permit?" The alien stared at her. "For what?" "Military occupation. This planet has been conquered." "That's not a permit. We do not require permission." "Then you need to speak with the district office." The alien pointed his weapon at her. She did not move. "You are threatening a municipal employee." "Yes." "I'll need your identification number." The alien's translator struggled. "Why?" "So I can put it on the incident report." He lowered his weapon slightly. "You will file a report against the Dominion." "Of course." "To whom?" "The city." "The city has surrendered." She looked at him. "No, it hasn't." The alien had no answer. Neither did his translation system. He left. The permit officer returned to her paperwork. The report was filed. 3 hours later, Sira Ven found it in the city database. She read it. Then she read it again. Commander. Vale sighed. What now? The humans have classified our occupation as an unauthorized municipal activity. Vale stared at her. What does that mean? I don't know. That was mistake number 3. Robocop encountered his first Veer squad at 8:02. They had been ordered to secure a power substation. He was standing beside the entrance. Identify yourself, the alien commander ordered. Municipal police. You are military equipment. No. You are armed. Yes. You are therefore a combatant. No. The alien looked at him. Explain. Robocop pointed to the badge on his chest. Police. The alien scanned him. His database returned no exact match. Your authority is unclear. That's okay. Are you surrendering? No. Are you resisting? Robocop considered the question. I'm working. The alien commander raised his weapon. Robocop raised one hand. Please lower that. You will be destroyed. Let's do this properly. The alien fired. The beam struck Robocop in the chest. His armor flashed. He took one step backward. Then another. He looked down. A small scorch mark covered his chest plate. He looked at the alien. That was unnecessary. The aliens fired again. Robocop moved. Not fast. Not dramatically. He simply stepped behind the concrete power housing. The second beam missed. The third struck the wall. Robocop came around the other side, carrying a metal access gate. He used it as a shield. The aliens fired. The gate absorbed the first impact. Robocop kept walking. The commander shouted, "Concentrate fire." Robocop reached him. The alien raised his weapon. Robocop grabbed it. The weapon was designed for soldiers wearing powered armor. It was not designed for a machine that had been lifting damaged traffic barriers for 18 years. Robocop twisted. The weapon came free. He set it on the ground. Then he pointed toward the street. Leave. The alien stared. Why? Because I don't want to hurt you. That sentence was transmitted directly to the Veer command network. Sira Ven froze. Vale heard it. He said nothing. The alien commander slowly stepped backward. Robocop did not pursue. The soldiers left. Sira looked at Vale. That machine had the advantage. Yes. Why did it let them go? Vale watched the recording again. Because it is not a military unit. Sira nodded. Then what is it? Vale answered without hesitation. A police machine. He returned to the tactical display. Ignore it. Sira looked at him. Commander, it just defeated a squad. It did not pursue them. That may be because it doesn't want to. Then it is constrained. She said nothing. Vale had found a category. Police. Police did not conquer planets. Police enforced laws. Therefore, police were predictable. The machine would remain bound by its rules. The doctrine had found a comfortable explanation. The problem was that the explanation was wrong. At 8:20, the Veer attacked Calder's hospital network. They did not destroy the hospitals. They simply shut down the central power distribution. Their objective was logical. Hospitals depended upon power. Power depended upon the grid. Therefore, controlling the grid controlled hospital operations. Except Calder's hospitals had emergency generators. The generators had fuel. The fuel trucks had drivers. The drivers had families. The families had neighbors. And the neighbors had pickup trucks. Within 20 minutes, fuel was moving from private storage sites to hospitals. The Veer surveillance system, identified 37 independent transport movements. Sierra watched the map. How did they coordinate? Vale answered, they must have a hidden command network. We haven't found one. Then continue searching. Sierra zoomed in. There was no command network. There were phone calls, messages, people shouting across streets, hospital staff asking civilians for help, a mechanic bringing fuel, a restaurant giving food to nurses, a school opening its doors. Nobody was issuing orders. They were responding to needs. Sierra whispered, there is no system. Vale heard her. Every system has a structure. She looked at the map. Maybe humans don't. Vale turned toward her. For the first time that day, he did not immediately answer. At 8:43, Robocop received a citywide emergency request. Not from the police department. From a woman named Myra Pell. She was an electrical inspector. Her voice came through an old radio. Robocop. Yes. We've got trouble near the river. What kind? Alien machines. How many? Too many. Robocop paused. Are you safe? Mostly. Where are you? North Drainage Station. Robocop looked at his map. Stay there. Myra laughed. That's not really an option. I will arrive in 11 minutes. Make it 10. I will arrive in 9. Show off. Robocop disconnected. He walked toward the river. Calder's drainage valley was built below the surrounding streets. During heavy rain, water moved through underground channels before reaching the river. The tunnels were old. The city had planned to replace them 20 years earlier. It never did. Instead, workers knew them. Robocop knew them. The Veyor did not. At 8:51, a Dominion armored vehicle entered the valley. Its sensors detected a clear route. The vehicle moved forward. The road suddenly disappeared beneath its front wheels. The machine dropped into a drainage channel. It did not brake. It became stuck. The alien commander inside shouted. Reverse. The vehicle reversed. Its rear wheels entered another channel. Now it was stuck in two places. A human maintenance worker watched from the edge. He shook his head. You're going to want the west route. The alien emerged. Why? Because that one's deeper. The alien looked at him. How do you know? I work here. Who commands you? The worker shrugged. Nobody. The alien stared. The worker pointed. You're blocking the drain. Move. Can't. Why? Because your tank is in the way. The alien commander looked at the tank. Then at the worker. Then at the drain. He finally understood something. Humans did not need to defeat his soldiers. They only needed to continue doing ordinary things around them. The machine was recovered. The crew was not harmed. But the incident delayed the Veyor advance by 23 minutes. Mistake number 4. At 9:04, the Veyor fleet changed tactics. Vale ordered a controlled orbital blackout. For 90 seconds, every major communications satellite above Calder was disabled. The city went quiet. Sierra watched. Now we will see the command structure. Nothing happened. Then slowly, lights began appearing. One neighborhood. Then another's. Then another's. People had radios. Battery lamps. Generators. Old wired telephones. Vehicle communication systems. Construction equipment. Hospital networks. Farm radios. The blackout had removed the central layer. It had not removed communication. Sierra looked at Vale. Commander. He stared at the city. Yes. The city doesn't have a central nervous system. Vale's fingers tightened against the edge of the console. It has millions of small ones. Yes. That is impossible. No. She pointed to the display. It is merely inefficient. Vale watched the lights. For the first time, his doctrine had no answer. Then Robocop entered the drainage station. Mara Pell was standing beside a control panel. She was covered in dust. You took 9 minutes. Correct. You actually timed yourself. Yes. That's weird. I am a police machine. Fair enough. She pointed toward the river. The aliens are trying to reach the pumping station. Why? If they control it, they can flood the lower industrial district. Robocop processed the information. That would endanger civilians. Yes. Then we should stop them. That's the general idea. Robocop looked at the control panel. What is this? Floodgate. Manual. Mostly. How much pressure? Myra gave him the number. Robocop looked toward the tunnel. Can it withstand the pressure? For 6 minutes. Then we have 6 minutes. Myra shook her head. No. What? 3. Robocop low. Oaked at her. Why? Because that gauge is wrong. He looked again. Why? Because nobody replaced it after the last flood. Robocop paused. Then let's do this properly. Mara smiled. That's what I was hoping you'd say. The aliens reached the pumping station at 9:16. They expected machinery. They found Robocop. The squad commander recognized him. You? Yes. You are obstructing Dominion forces. Correct. You cannot defeat us. I don't need to. The alien pointed toward the flood controls. We will activate this station. No. You will be destroyed. No. The commander studied him. You are incapable of understanding strategic necessity. Robocop answered. I understand people. The alien hesitated. Then he ordered his soldiers forward. The fight was short. Robocop did not destroy anyone. He pushed, blocked, grabbed, redirected. He used doors, railings, machinery, and the narrow geometry of the station. Every move was defensive. Every action reduced the aliens' options. The soldiers were trained for open battle. Robocop fought like someone who had spent 18 years arresting people in stairwells. One soldier slipped. Another became trapped behind a maintenance gate. A third had his weapon knocked into a water channel. The commander found himself alone. Robocop stood between him and the control panel. Stand down. The alien raised his weapon. Robocop waited. The alien lowered it. Why? Robocop answered. Because you are not the problem. The alien looked confused. Then what is? Robocop pointed toward the city. You don't know what you're fighting. That transmission reached the Vale flagship. Sierra Ven listened. Vale listened. Neither spoke. At 9:27, the Vale commander finally asked the question he should have asked 3 hours earlier. What is the machine's actual objective? Sierra opened the file. Public safety. Define it. Prevent injury, protect civilians, maintain order. Whose order? She paused. Local law. Vale looked at the city. Then why is it fighting us? Because it considers us dangerous. Then it is a military unit. No. Why not? Because it isn't trying to win. Vale looked at her. What is it trying to do? Make sure everyone survives. Silence filled the bridge. Then Vale gave a new order. Do not engage the machine. Sierra blinked. Commanders, withdraw from Calder's residential zones. She turned. That is a retreat. It is a tactical redistribution. Commanders, do not use that word. She nodded. The order went out. Veyer soldiers began pulling back. For 3 minutes it worked. Then something unexpected happened. The human civilians followed them. Not attacking. Following. A woman walked behind a retreating squad holding a clipboard. "Excuse me." The alien commander stopped. "What? You need to sign this." "Why?" "Property damage." "We did not damage your property." She pointed at a broken streetlight. "You did." "I will not sign." "Then I need your identification number." The alien looked at the streetlight, then at the woman, then at his soldiers. "Continue moving." The woman followed. "Sir." He stopped. "What?" "You can't just leave." "Why?" "The report." The alien closed his eyes. "Give me the document." The woman handed it over. He signed. She nodded. "Thank you." The alien walked away. Sira watched the recording. She almost smiled. Vale did not. At 9:41, the Veyer fleet attempted one final strategic maneuver. They would isolate Calder completely. No orbital communications. No external power. No transportation. No access to the river. No access to the industrial district. No access to the city center. The city would become 4 separate zones. The doctrine predicted collapse. Instead, the 4 zones became more independent. The northern district started using bicycle couriers. The eastern district used hospital radios. The industrial district used factory communication lines. The southern district used school buses. There was no central system to break. The Veyer had spent centuries learning how to defeat organized civilizations. Earth's problem was that nobody had bothered to organize properly. At 9:48, Vale ordered the final strike. Sira stood. "Commander." He looked at her. "You know this won't work." "I know." "Then why?" Vale stared at the city. "Because if I stop now, I admit the doctrine is wrong." Sira said nothing. Vale understood the silence. He turned away. "Prepare the fleet." The orbital weapons began charging. On Earth, Robocop detected the energy buildup. Myra looked at him. "Can you stop that?" "No." "Can anyone?" Robocop checked every available channel. "Possibly." He connected to the city's emergency broadcast system. His voice went everywhere. "Citizens of Calder." People stopped. "I need assistance." That sentence traveled through thousands of radios. Robocop continued. "The Dominion is preparing an orbital strike." People listened. "We cannot stop the weapon directly." A mechanic looked up from his workshop. A nurse looked up. From a hospital corridor, a bus driver stopped his vehicle. Mara listened. Robocop said, "We can make the target impossible to identify." The city became quiet. Then people started moving. Every light in Calder turned on. Factories activated their emergency systems. Vehicles moved into open streets. Hospitals powered every external light. Construction crews turned on equipment. Warehouses opened doors. Fire stations activated sirens. The city became a moving field of heat, light, radio noise, and electromagnetic activity. The Veyer targeting systems struggled. There was no single command center. No headquarters. No military formation. Only a city full of people refusing to be reduced to one target. Sira watched the tactical display. "Commander." Vale stared at the screen. "What?" "The targeting system can't identify the resistance center." "Then use pattern analysis." "It has no pattern." "Use population density." "Too many variables." "Industrial infrastructure." "Too many." "Power concentration." "Too many." Vale said nothing. Sira looked at him. Commander. He slowly raised one hand. Cancel the strike. The weapons began powering down. His officers looked at him. Vale's voice remained steady. Cancel the strike. One officer hesitated. Commander, we have not achieved our objective. Vale looked at the city. Correct. Then why? Because the objective is no longer achievable without unacceptable casualties. He turned toward Sira. How many human casualties? Minimals. They are casualties. Minimals. Vale nodded. Keep it that way. The fleet withdrew from firing position. Robocop received the transmission. Dominion Commander requests communication. Robocop answered. Connect. Vale appeared on the emergency channel. For several seconds, neither spoke. Finally, Vale said, Machine. Commander, you have defeated my forces. No. Vale's eyes narrowed. You have. We are still here. That is the same thing. No. Robocop's voice remained flat. You came here to control Earth. Yes. You failed. Yes. Vale paused. Then he asked, why did you not destroy my soldiers when you had the opportunity? Because they were not a threat anymore. How did you determine that? They stopped attacking. Vale stared at him. You could have killed them. Yes. But you didn't. No. Why? Robocop answered with the same calmness he had used with the delivery driver that morning. That isn't how we do this. Vale leaned back. The phrase was simple, almost meaningless, but it was the first time he had heard something that his doctrine could not reduce to a system. Human civilization had not defeated him with a weapon. It had defeated his assumptions. He looked toward Sira. She was standing beside the tactical display. Vale asked, how many campaigns have I commanded? 43. How many ended in victory? 43. He looked back at Robocop. And now? Robocop said, now you can leave. Vale almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because after 43 victories, the simplest answer had become the hardest one. He had a choice. He could order another attack. He could bombard Calder. He could kill thousands. Perhaps millions. He might eventually break Earth. But he would have to abandon the doctrine that had made him successful. He would have to admit that victory meant destroying something that had no central point. And even then, there was another problem. He had seen the machine. He had seen the civilians. He had seen soldiers lower weapons because they were tired of fighting. He had seen humans repair what the Dominion broke. He had seen them help strangers. He had seen them argue over permits while an alien army stood outside. He had seen a police machine refuse to kill. Vale removed his command glove. That was the smallest movement anyone on the bridge noticed. Then he said, withdraw the fleet. Sira did not move. All forces. All. From Earth. From Earth. She entered the order. Across the flagship, officers stared at their screens. The order was authenticated. The Vaer fleet began leaving orbit. 3 hours after the first ship entered Earth's atmosphere, the invasion was over. There had been no city-wide battle. No nuclear exchange. No mass graves. No burning capitals. Human casualties in Calder were 7 minor injuries. Vaer casualties were 11 injured soldiers. 0 deaths. That became the part of the story humans remembered most. They had won, but nobody celebrated the deaths that could have happened. Robocop returned to the municipal station at 10:12. Myra was waiting. You know, she said, you could probably ask for a raise. Robocop looked at her. I am not employed by the city. Exactly. She laughed. Robocop checked the street outside. The delivery truck from that morning was parked illegally again. He walked toward it. Mara followed. You really are going to deal with that now? Yes. The aliens just invaded. Yes. Your city almost got destroyed. Yes. And you're writing a parking ticket. Robocop stopped beside the truck. Correct. Mara stared at him. Then she laughed again. The driver opened his door. He saw Robocop. Oh, come on. Robocop looked at the truck. Your vehicle is blocking emergency access. I thought the invasion changed the rules. It did not. The driver sighed. How much? Robocop gave him the number. The driver paid. You're impossible. Robocop returned to the station. Let's do this properly. Far above Earth, the Veyer fleet traveled through empty space. Sira Ven stood beside Vale. The commander was reviewing the final report. He stopped at one line. How many independent human response actions did we record? Sira answered, approximately 86,000. In 3 hours? Yes. Vale read the number again. He asked, did we ever identify their central command? No. Did we identify their supreme commander? No. Who gave the order to activate the city? Sira shook her head. We don't know. Vale looked through the observation window. Earth was becoming smaller. Then we misunderstood the species. Sira said nothing. Vale continued. We believed they were a civilization. They are. No. He watched the blue planet. They are a collection of people who keep helping each other. Sira considered that. Isn't that a civilization? Vale looked at her. Perhaps. Then he closed the report. Years later, Veyer military academies would teach the Calder incident. Not as a defeat. Not officially. The Dominion did not use that word. They called it a doctrinal failure. Cadets learned that organized resistance was not the only form of resistance. They learned that a civilization could be resilient without having one command structure. They learned that decentralized societies could survive attacks designed to destroy centralized systems. And most importantly, they learned the sentence Commander Vale eventually added to the doctrine. Never assume the absence of a system means the absence of strength. On Earth, nobody made such a big deal about it. Calder repaired the streetlights. The hospital generators were refueled. The drainage station was inspected. The permit officer filed 32 reports. The firefighters went back to work. The delivery drivers complained about traffic. And Robocop continued his patrols. The next morning at exactly 6:40, he stood beside the same street barrier. The sun was rising over Calder. The river was quiet. The city was waking up. A delivery truck approached. Robocop looked at it. The driver stopped before the barrier. He rolled down his window. Morning. Good morning. You're not going to tell me I'm blocking the emergency lane, are you? Robocop looked at the road. Then at the driver. No. The driver smiled. Thank you. Robocop waited. The driver started to move. Then Robocop said, Your left brake light is not functioning. The driver groaned. Seriously? Yes. The driver pulled over. Robocop walked toward him. The city continued waking up behind them. Nothing exploded. No alien fleet appeared. Nobody surrendered. Nobody died. Because sometimes humanity's greatest weapon is not the thing it built to fight. It is the ordinary person, machine, worker, driver, nurse, mechanic, officer, or neighbor who simply refuses to stop doing the right thing when everything becomes difficult. The aliens came looking for Earth's strongest system. They never realized the system was everyone. If you were in Calder, what ordinary skill or machine would you trust when everything else failed? Tell me in the comments, and thank you for listening.